when I played 02 to 06, you can brag being the fourth seed in the Big East.
Yeah.
You could have been the fourth seed and still been top 10 in the country.
Right, exactly.
I think then it was a minimum of 8 teams in the tournament. You're going to get 8 teams in the tournament minimum, because that's when you had Villanova, Syracuse, Pittsburgh, Notre Dame, Cincinnati, Louisville. I know I'm missing Georgetown would be on the outskirts to get in. It was just team after team after team. And it's just interesting looking at the progression of the Big East and how it affects everyone, because I remember everyone understands about the Georgetown and Syracuse, but people don't understand that transition. Remember when Providence was in there and the role that their coach played in forming the Big East to be what it is now. You're a good historian of that. Share that information of what it was, the formation of the Big East and the TV deals and how that changed everything.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's the ESPN put out a great 30 for 30 called The Requiem of the Big East that describes that exactly perfect, And back then you had a character, for lack of a better word, coaching all these teams, a guy that had such a big personality, from Coach Mass to Thompson to Louis, and then you had Patino was there, and you had all these guys with these big personalities, and then the right of it changed, it morphs into different things. Like, we had some down seasons and came back, and back then Seton Hall was down, but then they came back shortly after that with Andrew Gaze and those people. Then they got to the Final Four and almost won a championship. So it was interesting in that, guys like you, I think you're talking about Dave Gavitt when he came in and started the whole thing. They took it from a little nothing, and it was on you had to really search for it on TV. And then when they had Big Mondays, that was a huge thing, because we were all going to be on national TV on a Monday night. They had doubleheaders, and it was a big deal to be on the Monday night game of the week, and you wanted to perform at your best, and at the same time you're taking everybody else's best. So everything was a battle every time you stepped on the court in a Big East game.
And I don't know how well you remember this to share with everyone. Around that time is when that Big Five rivalry started to heat up, because remember, Villanova was stuck with a choice. Do I play on national TV, right? Or do I play in a Big Five game?
Yeah.
And it was about seeing the future of the program. Speak a little bit about that.
Well, see, you're right. What people don't understand is how serious people in Philadelphia are and were about the Big Five. There were doubleheaders every Saturday at the Palestra. And, we were almost spoiled in that, we played in the Big East where we had, like you said, the top teams in the country. Now we're playing in the Big Five, and you go, all right. So we're playing LaSalle. Okay. It's going to be a game, but, we should be able to get by them. And, not that we took anybody for granted. I'm not saying that, but these came, they came everything they had, Temple gave us such a hard time. Every game that we played, there was really no blowouts. Like you see, we've blown out St. Joe's the last few times. There was no games like that. They were all close. And so what was happening is every year we would wind up on the proverbial bubble, wondering if we're going to get in the tournament or not. And you could say it was because of the Big Five games that put us on the bubble, because there was no cupcakes scheduled,
Right.
So we would go in and play those games, and it was really, really tough, because these guys were not fooling around. They took that city series very serious, and it made it worse that we were kind of in the suburbs. We weren't really in the city.
No, right. Yeah. Share that. Give everyone the background, set
so
stage
Villanova is on the main line. There's a lot of money there, Blueblood on the main line.
Right.
And, and those guys took it personal that they were not going to have some suburban team come in here and take this is our conference. It's our tour, whatever you want to call it. It's our league. and they were in the city, and they weren't going to have some. It would be like, people in New York City and the boroughs, when you go to play them, how serious they were. When you're from Long Island,
they want to
you're out there in farm country. You don't. What do you know, right? So you go down to play in the parks and stuff in the city, and you better bring your game, man, because they were playing for real, because they were going to show you, hey, this is the city, this ain't the country. It's the same simple thing with the Big Five.
Yeah. I mean, and some things don't change because
no.
It's I know we keep talking about it, but it's just so interesting to me how you can have not one team, because it's easy. You hear about Carolina, Duke. Then when you talk about football, there are a plethora of rivals there that are just so intense, where you win the game, you can go 0-4, and then the coach will get a raise, or you can go
right.
If you lose to them in a blowout to your rival, the only thing that'll save the coach's job is like a national championship.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
I get that. But the thing with the Big Five, it's team after team after team. It's Big Five, but it's the 6 teams, including Drexel, where you have just that heated rivalry, and for it to be sustained over the years, where the guys, they really, really embrace it, and they really, really want to beat one another.
Did you get to play any of your games in the Big Five at the Palestra, or was that all?
Yes. We played St. Joe's, one of the better St. Joe's team ever.
Really?
With Jameer Nelson and Delonte.
Oh, yeah.
And Jones, I can't remember Jones' first name, but he played for the Cavs for years. They had 3 pros on that team. 3.
Right. Well, those locker rooms were like closets, man.
It's very tight. Very
tight. And then you walk in and you smell the popcorn, and the people are there, and they throw the streamers, after the first basket, and they roll out these signs. It was funny because I did a thing with the Georgetown guys called the Locker Room, and they wanted to know about the signs, like why, they rolled out the famous sign about Pat Ewing, and Gene Smith asked me, what did you guys think? I said, well, personally, it was upsetting. I didn't, first of all, it's not right, number one, and number two, I said, all they're doing is pissing this guy off. I got to go in and try to guard this guy. I said, now he's mad on top of being great.
Speak about that.
Please stop with the signs, man.
There's people with a background. They understand 100% what you're saying. For those who may not know exactly what you're talking about, go into depth about that.
All right, so we played them my freshman year at the Palestra.
Right.
Normally those games, which was insane to have that caliber game, because my freshman year, that team was probably better than the 85 team. Mm-hmm. John was an All-American, Pannone and Moakland was real good. Stu was awesome too. And plus we had the guys from the 85 team on that team. So we're down 5 with about 48 seconds to go.
Right.
We win the game in regulation, and they played the game with 3 officials. It was like they were testing stuff out. So everybody fouled out. Everybody had foul trouble, including Patrick, I believe, fouled out. And Eddie had 27 points and 22 boards against them. And it was the first time I played in a game where we win the game and everybody in the stands wound up on the court. Where I'm being a Yankee fan, I remember when Chris Chambliss hit the home run to put him in the World Series and everybody mobbed him. It was that fighting people off to get off the court. It was insane. But in that particular, what they would do is roll out signs about the best players on the other team.
Right.
And somebody rolled out a sign that said something like Ewing can't read this or something, and spelled can't K-A-N-T and R-E-I-S. So I was like, man, you're just making this guy mad because he was so good. Jason, I mean, he's a guy that you had to be at your absolute best just to hope to compete with that guy. And when I ran into him, now that he's coaching Georgetown, when I've run into him a couple of times, I thank them for making me better, because if I didn't have him to look at, like, okay, on the schedule, that's one of the games that you circle that you better be, and, I can't tell you how what we thought of him as a guy and as a warrior and that all of that stuff. And then you see this and you go, oh man, this is Philly being Philly. You know, these are the same people that threw snowballs at Santa Claus at the Eagles game.
Right.
I said, and now they're doing this, and you know, that just ticked him off. That just gave him a little added incentive to play.